idea of a second Yalta isn't going to happen, literally. That was a kind of multi-state agreement, well, an agreement of the big powers. But some kind of bilateral Walmart Yalta, some kind of cheap Trumpist version of it is certainly on the cards. And it looks like being a very bad deal from the man who wrote the book, or Ghost wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. If you give the Russians what they want and don't ask anything in return, that's a pretty bad deal and a pretty bad way of starting your presidency. But all the indications are that's where Trump is heading. So Ukrainians are right to be afraid, but you're not the only ones. Strategic patience might help in the long run.
But there is also this kind of a fatalistic view that, there is no way. Therefore, there are, I won't say they are very strong, but there are some talks that, the Ukrainians should be more pragmatic. They should understand that there is, this new world order with different kind of leaders.
If I was Ukrainian, I would push back very strongly, particularly against a very narrow definition of what pragmatic might mean. Giving in to bad deals negotiated by other people, that's not pragmatic, or that's not realpolitik. There are some pragmatic cards that Ukraine has to play. The most important, I think, is, even on official figures, spending 5% of GDP on defence, plus the contributions from the voluntary sector. That's quite a strong card to play in a Trumpist world, where everybody is supposed to pay their own way and not rely on America. So don't be pushed into a bad deal by people who are more concerned about their relationships with America and want to, make Ukraine some kind of sacrificial pawn in that. Ukraine should put its national interests first as well, and that's not a bad deal, Trump style.
We do have Minsk II process. I hope our audience, I expect to know, this long time process. But it's already not the first year when we speak that it's not moving forward. So there should be something instead. And that even the Russians started to speak in a way publicly that, Ukrainians didn't take into account that was what was good for them.
Well, I've no idea where Trump is at the moment on all this. We do hear that he has some kind of executive order prepared on some kind of lessening of sanctions, at least those ones which he can remove by executive order. He's probably never heard of Minsk, but certainly there's been this general campaign led by Russia and by Russian proxies in Ukraine since last September, the purpose of which is to throw all the cards in the air. There's a particular campaign on restoring economic relations with Russia. But I think all these various op-eds that we see, various people talking aloud about, strategic rethinking, blah, 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 it's simply a way to negotiate around the Minsk process. Most of the proposals I've seen from Pinchuk's op-ed, Firtash's and others are just abject surrender. They're not a constructive way forward.
How would you, and working for the European Policy Institution, what would you say at that moment? What could we know about the British, the UK position, and also the European position on sanctions and on searching the way between Russia and the US?
I'm not quite sure what the point of Theresa May rushing so quickly to Washington was. The theory in London is to try and trap Trump into a form of words. He did say good things about NATO. The idea was also to try and get him to endorse Theresa May's earlier speech to Republicans in Philadelphia, where she stressed the importance of keeping sanctions on. Trump made those noises about NATO, but said nothing about sanctions. So what? Just because Trump says something one minute, he's not necessarily going to even remember it the next. So London's position is clear: sanctions stay. Whether May got any value on that particular issue out of her meeting with Trump, I don't know.